Daisy.
And I'm Terri.
And this is the Monday Mindset Podcast,
where we share things of interest to us and hopefully to you.
So let's get started with episode number 259. And this week it is Terri's turn to share something. Terri, what do you have?
Well, Daisy, I have probably the least well-prepared topic to share with you today, but I think you're going to find that it really fits with the topic. So I could have just claimed this as very intentional, but actually it was just I kind of ran out of time to really get this ready, and I still wanted to get to record with you today. So I went back to a podcast that we have talked about before. It's called The Happiness Lab. The host is Dr. Laurie Santos.
Oh, yes.
She had an author on with her in this episode, and his name is Oliver Burkeman. And he wrote a book called Meditations for Mortals, 4 weeks to embrace your limitations and make time for what counts.
Sounds good.
So the topic of the episode was how to embrace imperfection.
Oh, yes. I should be very good at that.
Well, I definitely think you can relate to some of what they were talking about. And I think most of us, as Lori, the host of the podcast, said, she felt called out when she read this book. Like, how does he know I'm doing that? And oh my gosh, does he know everything I'm doing? Because there were so many ways that she could connect with his content. And I think most of us can in places, even if we don't think of ourselves as perfectionists. It tends to drive so much of our behavior. One of the things she kind of highlighted with him as she got started is, although it's called meditations, they're not like planned meditations. So they're really just kind of philosophical shorts, kind of, of like, think about this philosophy for a while and stuff, to kind of break out of this perfectionistic mode that we learn to be in. The reason I say that this is so poorly prepared on my part is because there's not hard and fast content. They just had a great conversation about these things. And I thought about it and I thought, isn't that what Daisy and I said we wanted to do when we started this podcast? But what happened when we got started? I felt all kinds of pressure of, oh my gosh, I have to go find something of extreme value and learn about it, maybe find 4 resources, make sure I know what I'm talking about before I meet with Daisy to share it. And I put so much pressure on myself that some of those episodes I didn't even enjoy doing because I just was, trying to meet some level of expectation and to feel competent enough. I think the biggest takeaway from this episode and our conversation today that I really want to encourage for folks is that really embracing imperfection means changing our overall way of kind of thinking about what are we supposed to be doing in life. He talks about this idea that so many of us have this, we start out in a productivity deficit. I get up today and I have to do a certain number of things to a certain degree of perfection to consider this day a good day, to consider myself a successful, worthy person. And so, again, for me, the big takeaway from listening to their conversation, and I have not read his book, so just kind of listening to them talk about it, was this idea that we have to change what we're expecting of ourselves. And one of the challenges for many of us is, and Lori highlights this, that it almost sounds depressing at first as she started reading the book. Like, wait, I'm supposed to start to believe that I can't get everything done? Oh, that doesn't sound good. I'm supposed to know that every night when I go to bed, there will still always be more? That sounds overwhelming to so many of us. It sounds daunting. And he really emphasizes, though, by changing how we think about that, we change how we can do things. And as you noted by probably in the title, what it's really about is not stressing so much over trying to do everything and do everything well and reach some level of perfection, but get things done in a way that we can put our emphasis where we really want our emphasis to be. If you really don't want your day to revolve around how clean your kitchen is, you have to expect, I'm never going to quite be done with cleaning the kitchen. It's always going to be a little bit lived in. But if I can work on accepting that, I get to take that time that I would spend scrubbing every spot on the countertop and put it into other things that are of value to me. Recreational things, social things, otherwise fulfilling things, hobbies and learning. But so many of us get bogged down trying to achieve some level of perfection with mundane tasks that don't need to be perfect. You can't perfect them because they're never going to be done. And then he kind of moves into this other concept related to this of we as developing people are never going to be done. So many of us try to think of ways to optimize ourselves.
Yeah, you hear that. You hear that all the time, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Various ways to optimize yourself. Yeah.
And I know that I'm guilty of promoting this, even in this podcast. How can I get better at this? How can we be more skilled? So I don't think it's an error to want to improve. But when we spend a lot of time trying to create structures to optimize, we are often getting in the way of getting the things done, moving on to other things. And this was one of the places that I thought you would really be able to relate to their conversation, Daisy, in that they were talking about examples that many of us do, that when we decide to take on something, we take it on. We listen to 42 podcasts about it. We watch 100 YouTube videos. We get 4 books. So we spend all of this time trying to figure out how can we do this new thing perfectly. And oftentimes by the time we get there, we don't do it. We're so worn out on the prep work that we don't really keep the momentum going. And Lori Santos, the host, talked about an example for her. And she used a word that I wasn't familiar with, but it was, I don't even remember what the word is. It is something to do with being a DJ, like spinning records. It's called table turnism or something like this. And she wanted to learn to do this. So she started doing a lot of research. And what she realized by reading his book and really engaging in this conversation is what I should have done is grab that first app I saw that allowed me to download some music and start playing with it. But our overall kind of drive toward perfectionism gets in the way. He talks about a couple different kind of psychological things throughout the talk, but one of them is this idea of what he calls insecure overachievers. And when you look at them, and I'm pretending you're not looking at me, Daisy, but when you look at them, you might see they've accomplished things and they never stop accomplishing things, but they're not doing it necessarily because that's fulfilling for them. They're overachieving. They're constantly achieving and trying to accomplish something in order to feel worthy. And that this is a big challenge for so many of us that, if we didn't evaluate ourselves and give ourselves value based on accomplishments, achievements, how much did you accomplish today? How many things did you check off your to-do list? Did you get it done? So many of us have such critical views of ourselves for not getting enough done, not seeing ourselves as worthy if we haven't checked off enough things on that list. I remember when I was a therapist, I had a client who would stay up really late. She was a single mom. She worked full time. She had 2 active kids. And then she would stay up really late at night, making sure the kitchen was spotless. Now, some people might be listening to this and say, but Terri, I like it when my kitchen is clean. I like getting up and having a clean kitchen. And I think that's fine. That's healthy. That feels good. That serves you. Spending some time cleaning the kitchen is of value to you. But the way she was approaching it is, I'm going to be seen as somehow not a competent enough single mom making it in this world if anyone ever saw a speck in my kitchen. Or if in the morning we got up and there was one glass sitting out, I would be a failure. I think there's a big difference there. So if getting your closet clean so that you can find your clothes in the morning will make your life easier, then yeah, I think it's a great thing to work on. But how many of us have spent time, Terri, how many of us have spent time trying to optimize our closet system? Maybe it's a sign to me that isn't a high enough value for me. I would rather be spending my time somewhere else and not kicking myself saying that I'm just avoiding that task. So this whole thing about accepting you're never going to be done. That's part of human existence. You are a well-functioning human if you still have undone tasks. But that's not how we're really taught to think about ourselves and what we should be doing.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, yeah, we're always a work in progress, aren't we? And I think optimize just seems to be one of those buzzwords, doesn't it? That's just appears everywhere over the last however long, especially when it comes to your health. It's optimize this and optimize that. But, and as you said, both been guilty of using it. But again, it does come back to how you're framing that and what the context is, because you can still optimize what you're doing, knowing that it's never going to be done. Optimizing something doesn't mean reaching perfection. It means making the most out of time you have available, your own limitations. Yeah, it's an interesting word, actually, when you really dig into it, because it's kind of, it feels anyway to me like it's been a little bit hijacked by this idea of perfectionism. Maybe it's the videos you're seeing coming out of these people all doing these amazing things and all the rest of it. But yeah, if you actually dig into it, it fits quite well with the concepts that they're talking about.
You also touched on other things that they talked about. And again, I am totally not doing justice to the impact of this conversation. And I think all of us can really relate to ways that we don't even realize that we are imposing these expectations or this desire as if we can attain perfection, and that we need to be more accepting of our own imperfection and the imperfection of human existence. You're never going to make your relationships perfect. You're never going to please your boss 1,010%. And one of the other things that I thought was just funny as I got toward the end of this is, of course, they had, 5 tips. Well, it was a 45-minute conversation, and we didn't get to the 5 tips until minute number 42. So I am also going to go over them very briefly, but just again, ways for all of us to think about accepting imperfection. The first tip is you got to do the things. Don't get stuck in that perfectionistic fantasy planning phase. And we've all probably done it. Dive in it and get going. Tip number 2, fight back against that productivity debt. You don't need to justify your existence by getting through some huge to-do list. Tip number 3, remember, there's a cost to information overload. So we have to resist that urge to stockpile all the knowledge possible, and the urge to care about everything. We can't care about everything. We can't care about all the details. I could have cared so much about making sure I covered everything in this that I wouldn't have been able to record with you. So, try to get rid of that urge. Tip number 4 is to reject the urge to always, this is their word, whole ass stuff. People talk about, I'm not someone who half asses. Well, what does it cost you to be someone who always has to whole ass things? Shooting for 80%, and remember that there's benefit to things just getting done, not being perfect. And then tip number 5, let the future be the future. So often we spend so much time trying to prepare and plan and protect ourselves from the fear of what's coming versus, and he talked about, learning this as a kid, you will know what to do when you get there. We will cross that bridge when we come to it. And so he really emphasized, let the bridges be there. trust that you have the bridges. Don't try and play out the future right now. Trust the bridges. So overall, again, just really relating back to that idea of letting yourself understand and be comfortable with not only your own imperfection, but imperfection as a whole. We're never going to get everything done. We're not built to know everything before we start or do everything perfectly. We have to figure out how to navigate so that we can get important things done, so that we also get to do the things that we really value.
This sounds like a conversation that I need to go and listen to. Yeah, as you were saying about yourself, there's definitely a lot of me in there. I'm as much a questioner as I am a rebel, and I definitely like to get into the details. I like to try and get to know everything. And I love learning stuff. I go wholeheartedly into spending days and weeks watching YouTube videos or doing this course or doing that course and learning stuff. But yeah, how much time do I actually put into getting some of it done? It's pretty well only when there's some kind of pressure on me to have to turn something out that I actually do the doing bit. So yeah, there sounds like there's a lot of value in that conversation for me. But I have to share something on a much more light-hearted note of, not that wasn't light-hearted, but you know what I mean. More of a sort of funny comedy note. Something that I've been getting an immense amount of pleasure out of over the last week or so. And it does fit in perfectly with embracing imperfection. And it is the people who produce reels and shorts and basically the short videos that you see on whatever platform that you use, who are embracing the imperfection. And they're making a living out of it, I should imagine. But the entertainment value that they're giving you is in the imperfection. And so they're usually based on, most of us have probably watched some of Celeste Barber's videos where she'll show the original, the picture or the video of some extraordinary looking woman doing some extraordinary feat of perfection that most people can't ever achieve. And then she copies it and does it in her own indomitable style, which is brilliant. And I don't know how he landed in my feed, but I am very thankful that he did, because I watch his videos every day and I love them. And I've completely forgotten his name, but I'll put the link in. I remembered his dog's name. His dog's name is Duty. Duty. He's an American, so he says it like that. And but he's a fitness guy, and he's a very fit guy. He is like muscly and very fit. And it starts off with usually a woman doing some incredible athletic or usually strength training type move, and then he has to do it, or he sets himself this challenge of doing it. And Duty sort of intervenes because he's obviously getting a bit worried about his housekeeper doing all these things and looking pretty stressed. But what I really love about him, I love his relationship with his dog. I love his humor. But I particularly love, which is refreshing, and Thorin, who cuts down, most of the women out there have probably watched Thorin videos, swinging his axe and chopping great big lumps of wood. We won't go into too much detail there, but he falls into this male category too, which is very refreshing to see. And this guy is the same, and he just, I don't know whether he's particularly chosen the videos that women produce, but he just says, these women are amazing. How are they doing this? I can't ever do this. And he's all about, women are amazing, and blah, and it's, he's just brilliant. You have to go and check him out. And he makes me smile every day. He makes me laugh every day. And his whole concept is embracing imperfection.
I love it.
Embracing the, getting down and trying it and doing it. And usually failing at some level. He usually kind of manages to do it and gets really excited about that. But, it's fantastic. And that's where the entertainment really is. The videos that he's showing at the beginning are pretty impressive and they're worth a watch, but they're nowhere near as engaging and wonderful to watch as his videos are.
I love it. So the imperfection part is actually what makes those so great. I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for engaging me on this, Daisy, because I know it's a good one for all of us to kind of be looking at this.
Yes, absolutely. And I will be going and listening to that conversation because it sounds like it'd be very beneficial for me to listen to. Okay, so until we see each other next time, I hope you and everyone at home has a very wonderful week.
Take good care, everyone.